thrilled today because I am with the queen of astrology, who I think is the queen of astrology, Susan Miller. Welcome, Susan.
Thank you.
It's such an honor to have you on the show.
No, it's an honor to be on your show.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So Susan, you write for astrologyzone.com, that's your website. You also write for several publications. You are constantly recreating yourself.
Always writing.
Always
I know
writing.
my job in life is to write.
Yeah. And so tell us a little bit about the process, because your horoscopes are insanely accurate and they're amazing.
Well, my mother taught me astrology when I was 14. She didn't want to teach me. Actually, I was 15 by the time she relented. And she said, you'll have to study 14 years before you'll be proficient. And I'll tell you when you are proficient. And I'll tell you when you're allowed to read someone's chart outside of the family. I won't have my daughter saying things that is not correct. And she, little mom, my mother, who I love with all my heart, and I lost her 2 years ago, but she really was good. I wanted to know if astrology, because I was paralyzed during an operation to save my life when I was 14. And I would have to give up going to school. I'd have to be homeschooled. The Board of Education works with kids like that. I live in New York, the city. So you have to take your Regents, your PSATs, and your SATs. But a teacher would come with a stopwatch.
Right.
But she'd also come to teach you. I had 1 hour of English, 1 hour of math a week, but I changed it to 2 hours of math because I could teach myself English. And I wanted to know if all this was going to come to a happy ending. Astrology is not a replacement for religion.
Right.
You still pray.
Right.
I'm Catholic, to all my saints.
Me too.
And but I was human. Would I wear a brace up to my hip? And they were big, metal brace. Now they have lighter weight things, but it was hard. We lived in a 2-story walk-up, and one of the brownstones, and it just. Just getting through life was hard. So I just was curious, but she wouldn't teach me. So I wrote to Horoscope magazine.
Did you really?
And one day she came in the living room and said, "Did you write to Horoscope magazine?" And I said, "I did." But they never answered me, Mama. I wrote 7 months ago and never got a letter from them. She said, "I think they did answer you in the current issue."
You're kidding.
And I said, "What did they say?" There's the editor-in-chief. She had a column. And my mother said, "Let's read it together." So we did, and it was very positive. But remember, in astrology, you're putting together certain ideas, like great family support, great attitude of the patient, esteemed doctor, live in a big city where there's a lot of resources.
Looking at it holistically.
Yeah, and they said, "We think you will walk again." So my mother looked at me and said, "Sounds good." I said, "Yes, but I don't understand some of the big words she used in astrology, astrological terms. I need to know those words." She said, "Why? You have your answer." And I looked at her.
No, the answer is...
She said, "Wait a minute. You want to check the editor-in-chief?" I'm like, "Yes."
Oh,
I want to
brilliant.
double check her thinking.
Brilliant.
And so she said, "All right, I'll teach you." And that's how it happened. And it was wonderful, like the Socratic method with my mother. It was heaven.
Wonderful.
So, but I never was going to tell the world that I knew astrology, nor charge for anything I did, ever.
And why not?
The people who need astrology the most are suffering.
Right.
I can't make it harder on them. When Time Warner came to me and said, "We're sending you the webmaster. We need a horoscope." They wanted something short for women every day. I wanted something long for men and women once a month.
That's
Guess
great.
who won?
Well, and your horoscopes are so accurate, and you have such detail.
Well, you do it because NASA gives you the calibration of the planets.
Right.
And you have to do accurate math.
Yes, totally.
And you have to follow what the ancients wrote. Of course, there's modern planets of Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. But still, the community decides on what those planets mean by when they were born into our consciousness. But it's a very disciplined science and art of interpretation. All astrologers are getting the same news feed.
Right.
But you may enjoy watching David Muir on World News Tonight. I might like Scott Pelley on CBS at the same time. They're giving you pretty much the same news, but in a way that resonates with you more on one station or the other. Actually, I compare all the stations, I tape them all and compare. I say, I wouldn't have led with that story, or I mean, I'm obsessed with news and how it's delivered.
And information, communication.
Yeah, it's fascinating to me. Yeah.
So do you use any of the asteroids or any of
No.
the centaurs, anything
No.
like that?
Planets are the board of directors.
Got it.
Yes, Chiron has an important place, but you got to stick to the planets, and I do fine with that, and only the Ptolemaic aspects.
Right.
40, I should say, conjunction, or 90 degrees, or 60 degrees, or 180 degrees. It's how the planets are conversing with each other and how people will experience that particular conversation.
One of the ways that you described it yesterday in your talk, which is live streamed, or it will be available.
I guess so. I
Okay.
signed something.
Great.
Yeah. It's terrifying.
One of the ways that you described it that I love is that you feel like you're a teacher with 8 unruly students.
Yes, they're jumping up out of their seats. They're looking out the window. Venus is kissing Mars, and Uranus won't sit down, and he's bopping Jupiter over the head.
Yeah.
I've got to get them to settle down so I can see how it will affect everyone. I always feel like I'm the teacher in the classroom.
That's so great. That's a great analogy. You talked about when people come to see, when people would ask you information about their charts, that often they were in crisis, and I've experienced this myself as an astrologer too. How did you go about delivering news that's uncomfortable or that might be
I feel there are times I write in my column, didn't want to tell you about this. I actually thought about not putting it in the column, but I'm your friend. And if I see a bus coming at you and you're not noticing it, it's my duty to push you out of the way.
Right.
There are things you can do to protect yourself during difficult planetary aspects. Sometimes you can't. We had a very, very difficult eclipse last year, April 15th.
Yes.
And one not as bad, but still difficult, October 8th.
Right.
And I told people to have their antenna up, not to have too much on their schedule. And I showed what house the news would be delivered in. And they could, especially, they could make preparations, but I would say Aries, Libra, Cancer, Capricorn, born around the 15th of that month that they were born in, were feeling it the most, plus or minus 5 days. There's always a tolerance, a bell curve,
Yes, absolutely.
But other people felt it too, because a lot of people don't know, we have all the signs in our horoscopes.
Right.
So we feel things, and sometimes we're on the sidelines, and it means we have to help somebody else.
Exactly.
And sometimes we're the subject, but we really all have to help each other.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a good way of looking at it. So let's talk a little bit about some of the other initiatives that you have going on right now. You just launched a TV show.
It's been a dream that I've had for years. I did a pilot about 8 years ago with Broadway Video, which produces Saturday Night Live. Lauren Michaels has won many Emmys. But at the time we did the pilot, Discovery Network paid for it. The board of directors didn't feel comfortable about having astrology on their TLC network. And I was disappointed because I had worked a year and a half to learn how to host a show. They even brought in experts to teach me, especially how to interview people.
Right.
It's like riding a bike, though, you never forget. But it wasn't the right time, and I was surprised because it was after 9/11. The world had changed, and they didn't realize that astrology is not destiny.
Exactly.
And they were worried about their advertisers. But now we have streaming on the internet,
Right.
and we have big companies streaming like Netflix and
Right.
Amazon and Hulu, and these big giants that are on the internet. My audience on astrologyzone.com is 51% outside the US.
It's incredible.
So if I'm on an American network, I'm missing half my 6 million unique readers. 3 million can't access it. So I knew that I needed a streaming situation. Right now, though, you want to shape the show in privacy. So my executive producer, Paul Dudridge, and I are shaping it. We have a 12-member crew. The music that leads into the show and at the end was composed by a composer who worked on the Hunger Games.
That's incredible.
And the set is so beautiful. We have a control room in the back. There are tired people, reporters. We wanted it to have a newsroom feel.
Yeah.
You really have to see it. It's on my website at the very top. When you go in, first you pick your sign, then you go to the continued page where it's just a paragraph, and then it's again on the next page. And I also have glamour scopes.
Yes. Which
Condé Nast came to me and said, would you do the year ahead in 3 minutes? I'm like, oh my God, 3 minutes? I said, 3 minutes is a bit short.
Right.
And they said, no, we did market testing. And millennials who read or listen to thescene.com, that's very important. That's the Condé Nast video website. They said, nobody listens more than 3 minutes. I said, okay, you're the boss. They said, we're going to have everything you say animated. So like when I say, Capricorn, you're going to have bushels full of money. They have little bushels and little dollar bills falling down.
It's
it's
so
so
fun.
cute.
It is so fun.
And I didn't know how to work with animators. And here we are on set on the first day, and there are 10 Condé Nast people, a 12-person crew. The animation president is there. I have no idea how we're going to do this. But he showed me. He said, I'll show you. And so we put it on the air January 5th because we felt people are coming back to work.
Absolutely.
And people started screaming on Twitter, we need more.
Right.
And I love Twitter.
Yes.
I'm at Astrology Zone on Twitter because Susan Miller, there's too many of us.
Right.
But I'm Susan Miller on Facebook. I come right up as the first one. But everybody was screaming,
I follow you
more.
on both,
So they said, we have a problem. I said, well, how do we handle that next year? They said, no, we're going to handle it now. You gave us 3 hours of taping for each sign.
Brilliant.
We're going to take what we didn't use, and we know that they want lots of dates. So we're going to grab them. We're going to do extended cut for 7 minutes. It will not duplicate the 3-minute ones, so this way they'll have 10 minutes. People were so happy, and they did it within 2 weeks.
That's incredible.
Which is a big credit to Glamour Magazine and Condé Nast.
And to you too, because if they had that kind of a turnaround, they must have been getting that kind of a response to warrant it.
It was so great. People tell you right away, like even on the TV show, what's nice about where we have it housed is you can write your comments.
Yes.
And believe me, I'm
Yes.
not the only one reading them. A lot of executives are reading them. Yeah.
Most of them are
I have
wonderful.
2 apps also.
Yeah.
One is for Android and Samsung, and one is for iPhone.
Yes.
It's free,
Yeah, I have your iPhone.
but
one,
most
too.
people upgrade. Try it out for 3 months for $13 or 1 month for $5. 80% of the people who download it subscribe for the whole year. So that's great because I work hard on it. I publish 450,000 words just for the app, and that does not include my monthly. My monthly is 48,000 words a month.
Do you love writing?
I do. It calms me down.
Yeah. Sure. Well,
Yeah.
it gives you an outlet too for all the information
Yeah.
you're assimilating.
Well, I see it, and I know, for example, sometimes I'm writing Gemini or whatever,
Sure.
and I wire it to my editor. Like, oh my gosh, I forgot to tell them about their house, their apartment. So I say, Sherry, don't send it to IT after. Wait, I have another paragraph. Put it in between these 2 paragraphs, because that person's going to be looking. My landlord sold the building. I have to find a new apartment. Did she write about house? And in New York, we call our apartment our house.
Sure,
Come over
sure,
my house,
absolutely.
And so I know that people are looking for different things. I also know that people like to access their information differently. Some people on the computer, some people on a mini iPad, some on a regular tablet, some on the iPhone or the Android or the Samsung. You have to be everywhere they are.
Right.
You have to be.
Right. And you do such a...
Well, I've conquered magazines and newspapers.
Yeah.
I've conquered the internet. I'll be 19 years on the net. The Astrology Zone's birthday is December 19th, 1995. No, I'm sorry, December 14th, 1995.
Really?
I'll be 20 years on the net.
Wait, I have to tell you, I have to share a personal story, a Susan Miller story. When I was becoming an astrologer in about 1995, I didn't have anybody else. There was no community. I had no community.
Yeah, it's hard.
And I discovered you were my community.
Oh, that's so
Honestly,
sweet.
like you helped me sort of become an astrologer.
See, I write for people who would never think of turning to astrology. I'm very clear.
Yes.
I explain all my terms, and anything I say you could look up in a book.
Right. So do you use intuition at all when you're writing?
No.
It's...
Any astrologer who says they're an intuitive astrologer, run away from them. They don't want to do the math. No. No, I use real math. Yeah. It's cycles.
Yes.
Like, for example, Tom Brady was in a cycle of tremendous reward, whereas Russell Wilson was under a cycle of learning and honing his skills in the Super Bowl,
Right.
the two quarterbacks. And when, coming from New York, I was for the Patriots.
Of course.
And I didn't want to say, oh, it's the Patriots that are going to win. That's annoying if you're for the Seahawks. And so many people were excited. That would be bad to say something.
Right.
So here they're losing, the Patriots. And I'm like, okay, Susie, don't get nervous. He's going to win. Calm down. Don't worry. And they did, the final. But it usually works out.
Yeah,
but I keep
it does.
experimenting. Life is a big laboratory, and you have to keep testing.
Right. I agree.
I tell my readers, after a big aspect, like a big eclipse, write down on my calendar. I have a calendar I print.
Yes.
Just write down what happened. Look, we don't have time to journal like Oprah wants you to do.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, we don't have time for that. So just bought the house, got a new job, met a new man, whatever, just write it down.
Yeah, I think that's a really good way to learn. So
Yeah.
and the calendar allows you to see your calendar allows you
yeah.
to see exactly where things
I love
are.
my calendar. It's on the upper left when you come to Astrology Zone on the black page, but it runs all the way through the site. I spent 5 months writing it. It had to be accurate. I work on American time, especially LA time. If an aspect is peaking at 2 o'clock in the morning in New York, it's 11 o'clock in LA.
Right.
Once an aspect is at the top, it kind of drops fast. So you want to catch the aspect's energy as it's climbing. So someone here from Europe said, what about me? I said, you have an extra day. And in Europe, in Asia, you do too. So you're never too late. Which is great. I'm grateful. That's how it worked out.
Right.
So everybody has time to get ready. And that pre-period is far more important than the moment it peaks because you want to catch it.
And that's kind of like the resolution after the climax.
Yeah.
when
You
it's
still have some glow in the embers.
Yes.
And you can still use it.
And especially
But it's better if you can use it ahead of time.
Yeah. And then sometimes if a small, more personal planet will make contact with that aspect or that influence in your personal chart, then there's
Oh
also,
yeah. See, I can't see everybody's chart, but I can see the sun.
Yes.
And I tell everybody you should read for your rising sign too.
Yes.
People don't know what that is. It's the sign on the eastern horizon as you were being born.
Yes.
In New York, I say the East River. It's not perfectly east. It's kind of misnamed, but they can imagine it like the sun comes up. If you're born at dawn, then you have the same rising sign. But you should do your natal chart to learn where if all those planets are giving you gifts. And the most magical thing about astrology is no one has your chart. Not back in Cleopatra's time,
Right.
not in 3056. No one's going to ever have your personal chart, not even your twin brother or sister.
Right.
Because every little mathematical
Yes.
moment counts.
Definitely.
Which is, it shows you that you must speak your vision for your generation, what you feel in your heart, and don't do with your life what other people tell you to do. If you don't want to go to medical school and you want to become a writer or whatever it is, you have to follow your heart because you are unique in this universe.
Absolutely.
There'll never be another you. Yeah, even if they're trying to clone people,
yes,
they're going to be born on a different day. They're not going to be able to clone people.
Totally different charts. Yeah.
Totally different. Yeah.
Great. Well, so astrologyzone.com, if anyone wants to buy your calendar, see your TV show, read your horoscopes, or find out anything more about
I try to give everything away for free. Like even my apps, you search Susan Miller, it comes right up. You'll have something for free. And it's only if you feel you can afford the $5 for 1 month to try it out, or $13 for 3 months, or $49 for the whole year. But I try to give everything away for free. I couldn't do it with the app because Apple takes 30% of everybody's. And then your developer needs to have a huge chunk too, because every time Android or Apple would change their operating system, you have to change the strings underneath.
Right.
So you sign a contract for 5 years to allow them to upgrade your app, as you have to.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I went to one of the best companies, Funware. They work on NBC and they did Sochi and they do NFL and WWE and they do Oprah and they do a lot of boy things. So we had to, even it up. But I have 43% male readers. I have found that men over 45 are socialized out of astrology, but young men love it because the millennials were not able to get work. So a guy will say to me, hey, if you can give me a good idea, I have a rock in the road. Should I blast it? Should I build a bridge over it? Should I try to lever it over to the side? Should I go in a different direction? Give me some ideas. And I love that because I'm very practical. Yes. I don't speak in riddles on Astrologer Zone.
No, it's
not even in real life.
And it's precise too. I mean, you give absolute
yeah, I have to have courage sometimes. I'm like, I hope I'm right on this, but this is what the math is telling me.
You usually are.
I even went on Twitter and I said, did I overemphasize the anger of the January 4th full moon? Was it not as bad as I was afraid it is? I got 1,700 responses on Facebook. It was a nightmare, and they were telling me. But that's what's so great about social media. You can get feedback. So I said, I wasn't wrong. I was a little scared because I heard a few people got good news. They said, oh, no. I mean, but even people got good news. They had to break from the past.
Yes, totally. And
go in a new direction.
Right.
So life is to live courageously. It's not for the faint of heart. When I wanted children really badly in life. I had them very early because I have a birth defect, and I bleed internally. I've had 40 blood transfusions in my life. And I've told them that there are problems, you should read about my chart, and they didn't. And it backfired, and they put me through natural childbirth. I was in the hospital 2 months with transfusions and in a wheelchair in 4 months. They said, you can't have any more children. I'm like, yes! In 3 years, I'm coming back. 3 years and 2 months later, after Chrissy, I had Diana. And this time they did cesarean. But by that time, all the doctors were so freaked out. So I went to my pediatrician. I said, they had an amphitheater of cardiovascular doctors, but I don't know their names. How am I going to find somebody who was not at that meeting? I want somebody innocent who doesn't know, who's not scared.
Right.
He said, go higher. I said, what do you mean? He said, go to a doctor who would have been too busy to go. Somebody so famous. I said, I like your thinking because I don't know their names and addresses, but who do you recommend? He said, how about Dr. Irving Wright, who had a chair named after him at Cornell University, New York Hospital. He's Lyndon Johnson's cardiovascular surgeon and was Ronald Reagan's, and he's near retirement, but maybe you can still get him. So I call up the office, we can take you in 5 years. I'm like, no. He did take me and he said, "My dear, how did you find me? I wrote the only book that exists on your rare condition.
You're kidding.
I will help you have this baby, but you're not going to have any more after this." I said, "That's all I want." And then Dr. Ryan said to me, "Oh, that's very nice. Dr. Wright will be sitting by the fire having a cognac when you're in the hospital with me. He will not be here. If things go wrong, it will be up to me." I'm like, "Oh, do you want me to sign something?" He said, "No." He said, "It doesn't worry you?" I'm like, "Nothing worries me. I have to have that baby."
Yes.
And I bled less than the normal patient, and they can't figure out why that is. But they did see the veins as big as a man's thumb laying there like snakes.
Oh, wow.
But if you don't rile them up, they don't rile you up. And they took her out. I remember looking at the clock. It was 2 minutes to 8 at night. And she was born at 8:02. So they went right in and got her. And they're like, "We're closing Susan up."
Wow.
You know?
Did you plan the time too? I mean,
No.
astrologically? No.
Actually, I went to the hospital at 6 a.m. that morning, and they had so many babies and so many operating rooms busy. They couldn't use me until they put me in until the end of the day. And they don't let you eat or drink water, nothing. They put ice chips on your mouth. And I was a little worried because she was going to be a different element than the rest of us. No woman should be worried about having the wrong sign, because Diana has the right sign rising. She fits in perfectly. You know, when I was little in catechism, I was 7, learning all the tenets of Catholicism. The nun, I say that was Freudian. And there were like all us children sitting in a circle, but I'm next to the nun. She said, "God is omnipotent." No idea what that meant. He said, "He knows what you're going to do before you do it." Oh. Does that mean it doesn't matter what I do? No, it matters.
Yeah.
He's going to know what you're going to do. Now the bell rings and the nun says, "You can go out and play, and and your parents will be coming to get you." "Susan, you're not moving." Could we go over that again? So she does.
Yeah.
I understood it when I had children. God knew I'd be a good mother, and I would do anything for those children. I promised God, if you give me these children, I'll go to the end of the earth for them. I will do whatever they need. And I had a husband who never worked. So I had to work double jobs, and I put them through private school and college. And then I took 7 years to pay their student loans. But I wanted to be the best mother, and God knew it and gave me the right little baby that would fit in the house perfectly. So no mother should ever be afraid that she's having the baby on the wrong day. Let nature pick the day. Don't try to get involved in that. The universe is much wiser than we are.
Totally. And sometimes it brings you just the right challenges. So
Yeah.
that you grow.
This is true also with dating. I'm beginning to think the reason people are single for so long is they're too picky. They set up all this barbed wire. He has to live in Connecticut. He has to have a CEO's job. It's like a job interview. Because I had looked at Match.com, and I'm typing. My friend comes over to sleep over. It's 11 o'clock at night. She had a long meeting. I said, I'll be done in a minute. She says, "Do you think he's cute?" I'm like, "What? What are you doing?" "Oh, I'm on Match." I'm like, "Oh, there's 23 pictures of him. And here's his whole resume." It usually would take someone 7 dates to find out all that. And sometimes getting all that news too fast.
A little too much. It takes away the mystery, the romance.
Yes.
The spark of,
Jupiter wants you to be generous and kind, and don't.
And Venus wants you to relate.
Yes.
Venus and Neptune wants it to be magic. It wants it to be
Yes.
palpable. Yeah.
So, and get to know the person's social network.
Yes, totally.
So sometimes the problem is not in your stars, but in you. Maybe you're a little too scared to get attached. Maybe your parents had some trouble, and relax a little. You may think you want a CEO when you fall in love with an IT guy. You know what I mean?
Or an artist.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just be open, and the right person will come to you.
Great. Wonderful. Susan, thank you so much. I know you're so busy, and I'm so grateful that you came to the show.
I'm grateful to be on your show.
And,
you're so darling.
Thank you. You too. I feel like I'm sitting with a friend. I've been reading you for so long, and really, you've been such an incredible gift.
You're working
to this
so
planet.
hard here at the Conscious Life Expo.
Yeah.
You have a booth, and people are coming by.
Yeah.
Wow, where do you live?
I live here in Los Angeles.
Oh,
in
you're
Santa
so
Monica,
lucky.
Actually.
I got off the plane and I called New York and I said, they don't have one snowflake here. And my team said, get out of here. I said, I know, it's crazy. And I got on the plane with boots like the Michelin Man, all tied up and earmuffs and everything. I'm going back to that, you know.
I understand. My sister lives in New York, actually, and I send her pictures of the weather. And I take a frame grab, and I'm like, hey.
When I see the weather report, it's actually laughable. A little sun every day.
Yeah.
But I have to come here once a month, once every 6 weeks to do the show because we shoot it in Hollywood on film, not on digital.
Oh, wow. That's so exciting.
We have a 12-person crew.
That's so exciting.
What really surprises me and, well, actually humbles me is the thundering presence of the entertainment industry and how well people know their craft. You step on set, and you know, I had been sick and I had circles, and I said, oh gee, on my big day I have circles. They said, we've seen worse. Are you kidding? The makeup girl.
Yeah.
We cover up anything.
They work magic.
And every crew member is knowing what to do. No one's telling them. They have that little fuzzy thing, and they have a crate
The boom mic.
that's going around,
Yeah.
and there's 3 cameras, but the director is talking directly to me.
Exactly.
It was funny. Paul said to me, uh-oh, you're using your telephone voice. Stop that. And he means it doesn't sound natural, and he said, let's start again. I'm like, it's because I was nervous. He said, okay, we got to get that out first, you know. And he's so good because he leads you through. I now see what a director does. He said, don't call me a director. I'm an EVP, and I'm also a showrunner. I said, yeah, but the rest of us, we know directors from the Academy Awards. He said, no, here, that's a low-level job. I'm like, okay. I won't call you that. So, but I'm really learning a lot, and that's what's so much fun. You should go into things that are a little scary.
Yes, totally.
Because that's how you learn.
It is, and it's how you build the muscle. Like courage is a muscle. You know, you build it, you develop it, you grow it, and then you do more things. Like, I mean, I'm sure when you first started Astrology Zone, that was an act of courage.
And you have to have faith that the people around you know what they're doing. My editor, the cameraman. You just have to have faith. It's sort of like falling backwards. Let them be there and just go forward, and they'll give you feedback. Mm-hmm. Don't worry, it's not the end of the world. You can do it again.
Yes, totally. Great. Well, Susan, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Everyone, go to astrologyzone.com. Follow Susan on Twitter. Astrology Zone is her Twitter handle. And
and for our Spanish friends.
Yes.
I have a completely translated site, http:// like Edward, S like Susan, SusanMiller.com. ES stands for España. There's no W's because it's a subdomain.
Great, fantastic.
And we want our Spanish friends, some of our friends' mothers who don't speak English well, they can read it all. We translate in Uruguay, and we code it in Uruguay. And I have an investor partner to help me. Because you should always keep your dream in your pocket. Because you may meet someone.
Or in your heart.
And I said, Luis, where were you born? He said, Venezuela. I went, oh, Venezuela. He said, what? Always wanted my site in Spanish. He said, you should do it. I said, translation costs so much. It's a dream that I can't reach. He said, okay, I give you the money. We make this happen. Because he was reading me in English. He said, my mother will love it. So,
that's brilliant.
So that's how that happened a year ago. So it's still new, so I hope people know about it.
Definitely. Okay.
Thank you.
Great. So thank you so much.
Well, this is so much fun, and I hope we meet again.
Great. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh.